Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. We meet again for our second class. For our second chapter is framework for moral reasoning. Okay, before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Nurul Atika binti Hamanapi and I'm from Perak, but I stuck in PJ. As you can see, for our second chapter, we are going to learn about the definition of moral reasoning, moral value, moral principle, and you can look through an analysis of everyday ethical problem in sport. Next, we will slowly to look into ethical issue in sports, and my teammates will explain more about three perspective morally reason and the other four universal value. Okay, so let's restart. Are you ready, guys? What is moral reasoning? It contains rules and standard for people should do. It's the ability to discern right from wrong, ability to reason ethically about issues, depends on the use of cognitive skills, the perception of reality, evaluation of experience, making fine discrimination and generalization, and reason abstractly. And to be short, moral reasoning is a thinking process with the objective of determining whether an idea is right or wrong. Okay, next is moral value. Moral value is a set of principles that guiding us to evaluate what is right or wrong. As a standard of good and evil or principle of right or wrong, and desirable or undesirable, which govern an individual's behavior or choice. And one of the sources of moral value is the religion itself. Each religion has an inbuilt list of do's and don'ts. For example, of moral value is we must be honest, trustworthy, being courageous, and never give up. And for moral principle is the principle of right or wrong that are accepted by an individual or the social group itself. So this person must be always tell the truth, will not destroy the property, always keep a promise, no cheating, and will treat others as you want to be treated. Next, we are going to analysis of everyday ethical problem in sport. Okay. For example, it's during a badminton game. My racket touched the net after I smashed the shuttlecock, and it bounced into opponent's side. But the referee did not see it all, and he counted as a point. So actually, it is a foul. So, do I need to tell the referee, or should I keep silent? Or if the referee asks me whether my racket touched the net, should I admit it or argue to tell that it's not touched the net? For question 1, do I need to tell the referee or should I keep silent? Okay, why should I tell the referee? It is the referee's job to catch it up. It's not my fault because the referee itself didn't see. Okay, second is why should I help the other team? I can gain the advantage by winning this game because the point is mine. For question 2, if the referee asks whether my racket touched the net, should I admit or argue? Okay, the referee would not. If the referee would not ask, and I will not tell either. Or do I need to be honest or still see that it is not my fault? Okay, next slide is Kantian ethics. It's not Kantian, it's Kantian ethics. Who is Kantian? He is Immanuel Kant, was a German philosopher and one of the central Enlightenment thinkers. Kant's comprehensive and systematic works in epistemology, metaphysics, ethics, and aesthetic have made him one of the most influential figures in modern Western philosophy. And this is Kantan. You can see. He stressed two widely accepted principles of morality. The moral judgment must be founded on universal rules which are applicable to all persons in the same way. And number two, the persons must always be treated with respect. His concept of universality requires you to test moral values by seeing if you can apply them universally in the same way to all persons. His categorical imperative stated that duties are prescriptive and independent of consequences. Kantian ethics are widely held today as a standard of reasonableness and rationality. For moral principle, DeMarco and Fox 1990 state two general conditions for establishing moral principles, conditions that you can apply to both examining your values and developing principles. 1. Principle must be explicit and simple. No abstraction, just basic concrete statements. In developing principles, simplicity is imperative because difficult moral questions must be easy to understand. Complicated principles affect your efficiency in deliberation and judgment of moral issue. Too complicated a principle and you may never resolve the problem. Number two, principle must also be shared, common and universal. The principles you choose are actually cited by people in many different societies and cultures in various ways. Common principles are shared by the world's major religions, cultural laws, and knowledge of basic human nature. But DeMarco and Fox 1990 argue that principles should be written in the negative rather than the positive. Negative principles seem to cover all situations and cases and apply to everybody all the time. The negative seems to be more concrete. We seem to understand the negative more easily. For example, do not cheat carries the implication that you should never cheat under any circumstances, whereas to play honestly may not be possible. When out of ignorance, you may be playing honestly. Cheating means that you consciously know and covertly act to violate rules. Don't cheat means that you know the rules and choose to follow them. Negative principles are powerful in that more people can accept them because evils are being avoided. Our negative principles are being stated from a positive value system based on justice, honesty, responsibility, and beneficence. Okay, that's all for definitions and a bit explanation for moral reasoning and moral principle. Now I pass to my teammates for explaining the ethical issues and four moral principle of justice, honesty, responsibility, and beneficence, and impartiality, consistency, and reflection, and moral reasoning. That's all. Thank you. Next.
Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Khairi bin Arshad, a group member from Group 2. So our group task is to present Group Chapter 2 about moral reasoning. So my task is to present the subchapters about perspective to morally reason. There are three perspectives here. The first one is about impartiality. The second one is consistency, and the last one is reflective. So impartiality. Impartiality is also called even-handedness or fair-mindedness. This principle of justice holding that decision should be based on objective criteria rather on the basis of bias, prejudice, or preferring the benefit to one person over another for improper reason. Uh, should listen to the good side without showing any favoritism, judgment or for any side, and treat everyone in a similar way. Okay, the second one is consistency. Consistency is the harmonious, steady, reliable, and stable action demonstrating appropriate integrity of moral belief throughout all situations. On the Kant theory believe that ethical act has nothing to do with the rightness or wrongness of the outcome, but the intention of the person performing them. This one is also called as or referred to as a deontological argument. Okay, the last one is reflective. Reflective moral are those that are based on what you are believed to be right and not others. The ideas related to the development of art, values, human rights, and quality education that because of human reflections. Then we're going to look at the second one is universal value. Therefore, universal value here. First one is justice that divide into the distributive justice, procedural justice, distributive justice, and compensatory justice. Okay, the first one is distributive justice. This one involve the perceived fairness and distribution of benefit and burdens relative to outcome. The second one is procedural justice. This one involve the perceived fairness of the policies, procedures, and agreements used to determine the outcome. After that is retributive justice. This one involve the perceived fairness of punishment of a lawbreaker or evildoer. Okay, the last one is compensatory justice. This one involve the perceived fairness of giving back because of harm or fairness that a person or persons may suffer in the past. Okay, the second one is the responsibility. To be a sportsman requires a player and coach to take responsibility for their performance. Also, how their action in the field. This one is include their emotion. So there are so many times that we hear that the athlete and coaches will make excuses when they lost their game. The most popular excuse is to blame the officiating. The honorable thing to do instead to focus only on the aspect of the game that you can control. Example like performance, and you have to question yourself about where you could have done better than before. Responsibility requires that players and coaches be up to date to the rules and regulation governing the sport. This responsibility demands that players and coaches conduct themselves in honorable way of the field as well on it. Okay, the third one is beneficence. In the international sense, beneficence might be called a fair play. The act of giving another above and beyond the call of the gameplay. Fair competition, respect, respect, friendship, team spirit, equality, sport without doping, respect for written and and unwritten rules such as integrity, solidarity, tolerance, care, excellence, and enjoy. That are building block of fair play that can be experienced and learned both on and off the field. Okay, the last one is honesty. Honesty is a condition of or capacity of being truthful or trustworthy in dealing with others, including the competitor. Honesty is dealing fairly and uprightly in speech and action. Moral value of honesty is based on the premise that the actor or agent will not lie, cheat, or steal. That's all for my subchapter. My friend will continue. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum to Madam Nurul Ain and my fellow friends. My name is Suzana binti Henry. My metric number is 2017358557. In this video, I'm wanna continue to expand our subtopic in chapter 2, which is moral reasoning process, ethical issue in sport, and case study. Moral reasoning is a process in which ethical issue that problems are benchmarked against a moral standard so that a moral judgment is made possible. In sport, moral reasoning also can be defined as the process through which individuals try to determine the difference between what is right and what is wrong by using the logic. This is an important and often daily process that people use when trying to do the right thing. There are 4 processes on model reasoning, which are situation analysis, reality check, decision analysis, and resolution. Situation analysis is a way to analyze a situation involving a problems. Reality check is finding analyzing problems. Decision analysis is before we make a decision, should strive to try to include some ethical principles, policies, and norms. And for the resolution is a decision make which the result is likely to be right or wrong, and we try to adapt it morally according to the problems. So, for the example in sport, the situation analysis is there was a violence in the sport of football that result in the player being shown a red card. In the reality check, the referee found there was injuries and there was a fight between the players. The referee analyzes the decision considering the incident is against the rules of the game. Because of that, the resolution from the such a decision the referee gives it is illegal. In ethical issue in sport, I'm wanna explain about ethics and sport ethics. Ethics involves whatever it is right or wrong. The philosophical study of the moral value of human conduct and of the rules and principles that ought to govern it. Ethics refer to well-founded standard of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of right, obligation, benefit to society, fairness, or specific virtues. Sport ethics. It is the idea to good versus bad in sport. Sport ethic is that branch of the philosophy of sport addressing the specific ethical question that arise during and around sport competitions. It's like a match between gamesmanship versus sportsmanship's person. For example, gamesmanship person is faking a fall or injury, attempting to get a head start in a race, involved in various negative scandals such as partying widely or using drugs, while sportsmanship is a person or athlete who is summed up into four words such as respect, fairness, integrity, responsibility with healthy competition. Types of ethical issue in sport is violence and aggression, discrimination, cheating, gambling, performance enhancing drugs and procedure, recruitment violence, agent temptation, corruption of judges and officials. Difference between morals and ethics. What is the moral meanings? A person's moral ideas tend to be shaped by their environment and sometimes their belief system. Moral values shape one's idea of right and wrong. They often provide guiding ideas behind the ethical system. Moral people want to do the right thing, and moral encouragement usually means the best intentions. What is the meaning of ethics? So, for the ethics is different from moral because it is much more practical. The code of ethic is not necessarily moral. These are just a bunch of rules for people to follow. Several professional organizations have created specific codes of ethic for their respective fields. In other words, the code of ethic has nothing to do with cosmic truth or a set of beliefs. This is a set of rules compiled by trade groups to ensure members remain problems-free and act in a way that harness the professions. For the conclusion, morality is based more on perception than on logical reasoning. This means that people's morality is based more on their emotion and feelings than on a logical analysis of any given situation. Hume regards moral as linked to passion, love, happiness, and other emotion, and therefore not based on reason. But for Kant, there are universal laws of morality that one should never break regardless of emotion. Starting from a young age, people can make moral decisions about what is right and wrong. This makes morality fundamental to the human condition. Moral reasoning, however, is a part of morality that occurs both within and between individuals. So for the case study, local case study about Johor Darul Taksin Football Club players have donated half of their salary to help fight coronavirus. In this issue problems as a result of the pandemic disease in 2020, many people in Malaysia are affected. Many lost of their lives lost their jobs, and even affected the country's income. The solution taken by the players, coaches, and staff of JDTs has chosen to take a salary deduction of 33% and give part of their salary to the State Disaster Foundation. JDT said the move was to help ease the burden of the people of Johor during COVID-19 crisis. The ethical value they show is that they have a sense of concern as human beings to others. They feel a responsibility to help the society. For internal case study, Manchester City England football player Kyle Walker hosting a party during coronavirus lockdown. In these issue problems, this Manchester City football player reportedly breaking coronavirus lockdown condition by hosting a sex party even though he has advised people to stay at home. The solution taken by Manchester City Football Club spokesperson will conduct an internal disciplinary procedure to Kyle Walker as a punishment. In this case study, ethics value as a role model in sport, he against the lockdown rule and he had done things that have been forbidden by his religion, which is belong to non-moral value. But he also show his moral value, which is he apologized that mistake to public. So that's all from our group about chapter 2. Thanks for watching.